Welcome to the Stochastic MLB Strategy Show. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I'm here with Adam Scherer. You can find him on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And this show is sponsored by SoRare MLB. We will talk about that in a little bit. The game locks for SoRare MLB in a couple hours. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen while I set my lineup for the contest this week in a little bit. But Adam, how did your day go yesterday?
Went well. Made money at basketball, made money at baseball. Didn't bet anything, but yeah, good day.
Nice. Yeah, I was close in NBA. I was in first place with a minute. So I've been, for some reason, I've been spreading myself out across a bunch of different contests, like the $5 buy-in, $8 buy-in. I can't remember which one it was, but one of them I was in first place with like a minute and a half left. And I was in first place with a lineup that was, of course, duped with Steve Buzzard. We had the same lineup in first place, so winning like $6,500 or something. And then the only thing I needed was for Eric Gordon to outscore Torrey Craig for that last minute and a half. And of course, then Torrey Craig hit a three-pointer with about a minute and a half left and got passed by a lineup that was Steve Buzzard also. and I think he was duped with Papa Gates there. Just incredible night last night for the Stochastic team overall. I saw Tom took down FanDuel, Steve took down, I think Tom took down everything on FanDuel. Steve took down everything on DraftKings, is my impression.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what they won. I know that they both won a lot.
Yeah, I know Steve won my contest, and it was a different lineup that Steve won with in the main contest for NBA also. So he just, I know, crushed everything. Wasn't on FanDuel last night, but I saw Tom took down at least 100,000, and I heard that he won some other contests as well. So really fun day for the team yesterday in the NBA streets. We also saw some success from people in the MLB streets as well. That's fun to see that people have been having success listening to our shows, using our tools, et cetera, et cetera. I kind of want to start this show, Adam, by looking at what the pros did with Fernando Tatis yesterday, just because I think that's an interesting talking about. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I pulled it up because I hadn't looked, but I saw your tweet and I wanted to see what people did too. It's really interesting. It kind of goes back to what we were saying on the show. Like, you could make good arguments in either direction. It kind of looks like I pulled up like 8 names that I think are good players and that I recognize, and I think like half of them were over the field on Tatis and half were under.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm screen sharing right now. So looking at some of the lineups, I'm just pulling out some of the names that we'll recognize here. Kind of trying to find some like different types of players too.
Yeah, kind of surprised he only came in at 40% too.
I was too. I thought for sure he was going to be like 50 to 60%. But yeah, 40% seemed kind of reasonable. Like it was, and of course he put up 0 fantasy points. So the actual worst case scenario as far as he goes happened. But then I think the winning shortstop had like 11 fantasy points last night, right? Like in the winning lineup, I feel like it was somebody who had like 11 fantasy points.
Yeah, it was Lindor with 11. Turner with 5 came in second.
Yeah,
the best Tatis lineup was 18th.
So I think like your argument yesterday for one of the reasons that it was okay to be overweight to Tatis was that like he could put up a 0, and if nobody else does anything, it's not really going to hurt you. And I think that we saw that. Like he didn't end up in the winning lineup, but he very well could have with a 0 at 2,000 if just like one more of the expensive bats did well. Didn't pan out that way, but I think even with that 0, he was very live to be in the winning lineup yesterday. But yeah, we see Ricky D took the biggest stand here with, I think he must have had him in 1 out of 150 lineups.
1 out of 150. Yeah, he was the last name I just added to my sheet. So I had 2 people that were at exactly 40%, and then I had 4. I was looking at 4 people that were over, 2 that were under, and then I pulled up Ricky D, and he had like none. The people that were under before were at like 29%.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Just looking at the differences here with Ricky D again, it's like 0%. Royal Payne at 72%, Bro at 75%. So yeah, wide range of what people did with Tatis yesterday. Which I mean, you and I did a show where I think you basically said that you thought you would be overweight to the field on Tatis if you were playing in a large field GPP, and then Eric and Steve Buzzard wrote an article where they both said they would be underweight to the field. So I think that just shows like a lot of very smart people taking very different approaches here. And
yeah. And Eric and I talked about it a little bit on the basketball show too. And he did make a point that I agreed with, that just like there wasn't a lot to pay for yesterday. So that was sort of a knock against Tatis. Or it made the chances lower that you were going to get like that is 0 from Tatis, would still win because there just weren't that many guys that you were trying to pay for. But it's interesting. I mean, even within our company. So Sean Zahn played 65%. Steve played 29%.
Right. Yeah. Everybody very different. Yeah, I think I had I think I ended up deciding, like, I went back and forth, but I decided just to use my usual rules and cap him at 30%. I was like, I'm going to get to 30% if I cap him at 30% clearly. But then I'm also not going to be like, I'll be a little bit underweight to the field, but like not that far off. And he ended up being, under 40% owned. So I actually wasn't all that far off from the field. Jake Swell says, almost got my hands on that $15K in the $4 on DK. Is that the, I assume that's NBA. I don't think that there's $15,000 prizes in the $4 on for MLB currently, but yeah, nice job, Jake. Sorry you didn't get there. I saw somebody, Jameson Williams, Josh Gillum says Jameson Williams, Jake. I just saw like a passing tweet about Jameson Williams betting on a college game or something. Is he in trouble? Is he being suspended?
Yeah, he's suspended 6 games. Somebody else on the Lions is suspended 6 games. A couple other guys are suspended indefinitely. So Jameson Williams and I don't remember who the other guy were, bet on college games, but the problem is that they did it from the Lions facility, which I guess you can't do. But then the guys that are suspended indefinitely bet on NFL games.
What do you think what's the logic behind not allowing them to bet on like games that they're not involved in from the facility? That seems super dumb.
Absolutely no idea.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it's a bummer for anybody who is high on Jameson Williams in best ball. That's it's going to hurt you. And I guess dynasty leagues and stuff is kind of relevant as well. Anyway, all right, enough about Tatis, enough about the slate from yesterday. We'll get into the slate from today, which I haven't given much of a look to yet. I'm going to jump in and do that now. And of course, I'm sure that you've given it a thorough look already, Adam.
Yeah, I've been up since like 7, just pouring over it.
Of course. All right. First game on this slate, we've got Detroit at Baltimore. Michael Lorenzen on the mound for the Tigers. Tyler Wells for the Orioles. Starting with the pitchers, what is your level of interest?
Good matchup for Tyler Wells. 6,200 is a very reasonable price tag. 3.9 implied run total for Detroit. So, like, if you need value, I think Wells is certainly viable. He's pulling 16% ownership, 17% chance of being a top 2 value on DraftKings, 7% top 2 pitcher percentage. So, again, if you go there, you're going there for the value. You do have actual, high upside, good pitchers on this slate, but he is cheap in a good matchup. Don't have interest in Lorenzen on the other side in a much more difficult spot against Baltimore.
Yep. Absolutely. I just want to touch on, so Sportsbook says, would it not make sense? So back to the Tatis discussion briefly, would it not make more sense that you just full stack San Diego versus making this discussion that you need over under in the overall portfolio? Yeah. I mean, it's generally, silly to talk about one player. Like it's really about your lineups, not your players. But also I think this was a unique situation where I thought it was just interesting to see, because I think a lot of people might have made room to play him as a one-off or play him in different ways. What do you think about that, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, how often you stack San Diego is going to certainly influence how much Tatis you had for one. But yeah, it's just that it was such a weird situation where the highest projected shortstop was also minimum salary, and so it just kind of curious to see what people were doing overall, with their exposure to him. And from like a stacking San Diego standpoint, I had said I kind of like Tatis less in San Diego stacks than I did as a one-off because I thought going to Bogarts in those San Diego stacks was great. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. The whole thing was just interesting.
And Bogarts donged, didn't he? I thought Bogarts
he had 21.
Yeah. Okay. So he was the actual leading shortstop there. Yeah.
Yeah. So also interesting that he wasn't even in the winning lineup.
Right. Yeah, that is interesting. All right, bats in this game for Orioles or Tigers. What's your level of interest?
Happy to get to the Orioles here. Lorenzen has been pretty good at limiting power since last year. Very good at limiting power since last year. 121 expected ISO to righties, 157 to lefties. So does give it up a little bit more there. And you do still have a favorable hitter's park for left-handed bats. So getting to this Orioles lineup where you have Mullins, Rutschman, Santander, Frazier, Gunnar, that's going to be pretty appealing, I think. Right now, looking at the top stacks tool, Baltimore is coming in with the 4th highest top stack percentage at 7%, 6% aggregate ownership, relatively low chance, about a 2% chance of being the top value. So they are relatively expensive. Mullins on DraftKings is 5,600, Rutschman's 55. You get a little bit of a break with Santander at 3,900, Gunnar at 3,800. But I do like getting to the Orioles. Not particularly interested in getting to Detroit. If you want to get some Riley Green or Kerry Carpenter, that's fine, but not particularly interested overall.
Okay. And how would you rank the 4 sides of this one?
Baltimore bats, Wells, Tigers, Lorenzen.
Just all the homer takes right away.
Exactly.
All the Orioles is what Adam wants.
That's all the show we need today. Play the Orioles, play Tyler Wells. We're good.
Yeah. We're good. All right. No, we don't need to talk about the 11 remaining games, but we will anyway. Moving on to Colorado at Philadelphia, we have Noah Davis on the mound for the Rockies, Aaron Nola for the Phillies. Again, starting with the pitchers, what's your level of interest?
Sorry, I had to reply to Sean V saying Torkelson's good. Or he said hot, which he may be, but Torkelson sucks. Philly game.
Yep, Philly game.
Yeah,
Pitchers.
very, 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 very interested in Nola. You get him, at home, and Philly's not a great park for pitchers, but Nola over the years has actually pitched better there. And either way, you're getting this Colorado team outside of Colorado. It looks like a very, very good spot for Nola. It looks like one of the top pitchers on the slate, kind of no matter how you want to define that. 19% chance of being a top 2 pitcher on DraftKings is second highest. About an 8% chance of being a top 2 value. He's still relatively inexpensive at 9,400. 39% ownership. He's projected to be the highest owned guy on DraftKings, but I think for good reason. It's just a really good spot to get to Nola. Not interested in Noah Davis on the other side.
Okay. And then what about the bats in this one?
Phillies look pretty good. We have them leading the top stack stool at a 10% chance of being the top stack, about 9 to 10% ownership. So pretty much correctly owned, facing Noah Davis, who I don't know a ton about. I'm pulling his stuff up now. I feel like he just pitched like 2 days ago and wasn't in the player pool, but he is 25, about to be 26. Fangraphs doesn't have him ranked as any sort of a prospect. He last year spent most of the time at AA, 26 starts, 133 innings pitched, decent strikeout numbers, 5.31 FIP, 4.68 xFIP. Steamer projects him for a 5.57 FIP this year. The bat projects him 5.39. Looks like another guy for the Rockies that sucks at pitching. So I do certainly like getting to the Phillies here. Not particularly interested in getting to the Rockies.
Yeah, and the Phillies are number 1 in our top stack tool. We have them the top stack 9.6% of the time at 9.4% ownership. So fairly neutral in terms of leverage on the field. But yeah, they are our top stack overall today. How would you rank the 4 sides of this game?
Nola, Phillies, Rockies, Davis.
Okay. Interesting one, Toronto versus the Yankees. We've got Yusei Kikuchi for Toronto. We've got Domingo Germán for the Yankees. What's your level of interest in these 2 pitchers?
Not very high. Yusei Kikuchi terrifies me in this spot. I'm actually a little surprised he's as high in top 2 percentage as he is. He's at 8.5%. He is relatively inexpensive. He does have decent strikeout stuff. It's just that he has typically had issues with power, and you're getting him against this Yankees lineup where I don't really want to go out of my way to go to him. Has struck out 28% of righties since last year, 24.5% of lefties, but that comes with a just shy of 200 expected ISO to lefties and a 229 expected ISO to righties. Just not really a spot I want to get to him. Domingo Germán coming off of the best start that he's probably had in the last 3 years. Obviously some controversy around it with what may or may not have been on his hand, but he does have the potential to be good. We saw him show really good stuff a couple years ago. Then he dealt with some injuries, got suspended. So the upside is there, but this is also a very difficult matchup with Toronto. This is a slate where you do have a lot of good pitching. So right now we have about an 8% chance of Germán being a top 2 pitcher. We have about 8% ownership. It's certainly a spot where in tournaments, if you want to just take a chance on his ceiling, it's fine, but I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable with it.
What do you make of the fact that Max Scherzer dropped his appeal? Is he guilty of something? Why did he drop his appeal?
That was surprising to me. Yeah, I kind of was thinking about it last night, trying to think what the reason could be, because I thought he would fight that one pretty hard.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my first guess is that the Players Association just for whatever reason wanted him to, and so he did. But
is it a 10-game suspension or a 10-day suspension?
10-game.
Oh, which is 10 games, but he's the pitcher. He's the starting pitcher, so it's basically it's 2 games for him anyway. Okay, I was like, damn that. But yeah, okay. That's still more. I was thinking it was a 10-day suspension, which I guess would still probably be 1 or 2 starts, I guess. So not, but pretty much the same thing. I was pretty shocked. I thought Max Scherzer of all people is going to fight anything. Any chance he has to fight, he's going to fight. Surprised to see him drop that. But
yeah, I was pretty surprised too. So yeah, I don't know what. Again, my assumption is something behind the scenes, convinced him to do it. But so I don't necessarily think it's an admission of guilt. But I was surprised.
I was also. Larry C says Torkelson has not been good. 214 average and 393 slugging in the last 7 games. I'm gonna take him at his word there in that Torkelson debate. How about the bats in this Toronto Yankees game? What's your level of interest?
Yankees look pretty good here for basically the reasons I was saying that I was scared to play Kikuchi, the power numbers he gives up. The Yankees only have about a 3.5% chance of being the top stack, 6.5% projected ownership. But I really like the power upside here. I think that Kikuchi does struggle with that. The ownership number is a little bit misleading because you do have 14% coming into Judge, 12% to Volpe. So those are guys where like they're just going to be popular because of who they are, and they're, and pricing and all that. But the rest of the team's pretty low owned. Peraza is projected to be the third highest owned guy on the team at 7%, Rizzo at 7%, everybody else 5 or below. So I do think that this is a case where the aggregate ownership number is a little bit misleading, and their ownership overall is kind of more in line with the top stacks tool. But I like the upside that the Yankees give you. And if you are stacking the Yankees, don't be afraid to include lefties in there. Don't be afraid to include Anthony Rizzo. Obviously, this is a good part for left-handed power, but Kikuchi is not particularly good against lefties anyway.
Okay. So you like the Yankees. Did you say how much? Do you have any interest in the Blue Jays?
Just in the sense that it's the Blue Jays, and I always have some interest because they have a lot of power in their lineup. But 3% chance of being the top stack, 1% projected ownership. Anytime you get a low-owned Blue Jays team, it's fine. And Herman is certainly still somewhat of a question mark, but it's not a spot that I'm looking at it and saying, I'm really confident that they have success against Domingo Herman. I'm not. I think he's pretty good. But it is just a spot where the Blue Jays are coming in unknown.
Okay. And how would you rank the 4 sides of this one?
Yankees bats, Herman, Blue Jays bats, Kikuchi.
Frederick Duke says, scheduling wise, it makes more sense for Scherzer to sit out without appealing. And M. Billman says, Scherzer said he didn't appeal because the arbitrator would have been through MLB, not neutral. Yeah, I guess that's pretty good reason. Sense. Yeah, to not want to mess with that. And Sean V says he's looking at the last couple games for Torkelson.
Of course he is.
I don't know, Sean. I don't think you should factor in what he's done just over the past 2 games. I don't think being hot is really a thing for MLB, but what do I know? I'm not a baseball player. Maybe I'm wrong. All right.
And to the point, like I did think that there was a chance it would be scheduling for Scherzer. I just couldn't really think of exactly why it would be more favorable, but yeah, those both make sense.
Will and F and Jennings says, my boss says I've had a great couple days, but that doesn't change that I am an overall mediocre employee. Is Torkelson, would you say mediocre?
No. Torkelson is like, trying to think. It's like when Eric starts singing on shows.
It's the best part of the show. Yeah. Okay. Josh Gillum says being hot is definitely a thing for MLB, Neil. I don't know.
No, it's not.
I doubt it, but I guess I haven't really paid attention to hot streaks. I don't think it's something that I'm going to be factoring in, but if you want to be my guest.
I guess to clarify, this is one of those where like certainly they exist, but you can't quantify it and you shouldn't be chasing them in DFS. You don't know when they started. You don't know when they stopped. It's like, yes, certainly there are periods where somebody is feeling fully healthy and seeing the ball really well. Like that definitely exists, but
yeah. That's true. Sean V says, you don't know MLB though, Neil, you know football. I mean, that's partially true. Like I know MLB well enough to do well at MLB DFS, but I'm not like a huge watch every day baseball kind of fan like some people are. So maybe I miss.
I will speak for someone that follows baseball a ton and has played it, and it's my favorite sport. You shouldn't care what Spencer Torkelson has done for 2 games.
Yeah. All right. Enough about Spencer Torkelson, I think, for this show. We'll talk about Miami and Cleveland. We have Braxton Garrett on the mound for the Marlins, Zach Plesac on the mound for the Guardians. What's your level of interest in the pitchers?
So Plesac is kind of just your run-of-the-mill, not very good, not very bad, mediocre right-handed pitcher. So he is he is a mediocre employee for Cleveland. I don't think you really need much of him on this particular slate. There's just enough good pitching. He is cheap at 6,500, so he's pulling 3% ownership, but nothing particularly interesting to me there. On the other side for Braxton Garrett, I don't really want to get there either. Cleveland is a very difficult team to strike out, and again, you just have plenty of other pitching options today.
Okay. And then what about the bats then?
Don't really love them either. Braxton Garrett is a decent pitcher, 163 expected ISO to righties, so does give up some power there. He's given up basically no power to lefties since the start of last year. On the other side, Plesac will give up some power, 183 expected ISO to lefties, 206 to righties. You are also getting Miami outside of Miami, which is nice, but Yeah, so I guess from a DFS standpoint, I think I'm actually a little bit more interested in the Miami side, even though they have the lower implied run total, just because Plesac is more prone to giving up home runs and giving up power. So Jazz Chisholm in particular looks good. Arise, we know, is a very good hitter. I think I saw the other day he's hitting like 458 or something. Not the kind of stat that like I would ever know off the top of my head, but I just saw a tweet about it. Solaire's got power, nice home run spot for him. So he's at arises at 438 with a 493 on base percentage so far this year. That is insane. But I do like getting to these bats at the top of the order for Miami. I think they're solid one-offs, mini stacks, just trying to grab a home run against Plesac. On the other side, the Guardians I think are the more appealing offense in terms of name value, but again, don't love the spot against Garrett. Individually, Jose Ramirez is always a good play. Oscar Gonzalez looks okay, but really, I just kind of like trying to get home runs off of Plesac.
Yeah. So you're saying you're not going to full stack them. You're more likely to just play like one-offs.
I mean, you can full stack them, but I just like this is one of those where if you're building 150 lineups, you're just going to end up with some full stacks, some mini stacks, whatever. If you were like hand building a lineup, I think the ideal approach that I would take to Miami would be just grabbing like 1, 2, 3 of them, throw in Chisholm and Soler, hope that each of them hit a home run and that overall Miami is disappointing. Because Plesac, again, he's not a bad pitcher. You do still only have a 3.7 implied run total for Miami. It's just that Plesac does give up power, and Miami does have guys at the top of the order that can certainly take advantage of that.
Bospro asks, how much of a park upgrade is Cleveland? This park stinks too. I always thought of Cleveland as a hitter's park. Is it not a hitter's park anymore?
I don't think
it used
so.
to be, right? Wasn't it? I feel like at one point it was. I thought of it as being a great hitter's park, but
yeah, off the top of my head, I'm not sure where Cleveland ranks. I just know Miami sucks.
Yeah. I mean, Miami definitely one of the better pitchers parks. I thought Cleveland was more of a hitter's park, but I could be completely off there. Also, sometimes they change stadiums, change the dimensions of stadiums. I'm thinking of like 4 or 5 years ago at least that I really thought about it too much. Surprised Cleveland was that far down. Okay.
Yeah, so I just pulled up the Baseball Savant park factors. Cleveland is set. Yeah, they're pretty neutral, which I thought.
Okay.
Yeah, they're 99 overall park factor. Miami is 97. So Miami's 23rd, Cleveland 17.
Okay. Yeah, so a little bit below average for hitters. Interesting. All right. How would you rank the 4 sides of this Miami-Cleveland game?
Also, in terms of home runs, Cleveland is 14th. Miami is 24th.
Okay. Josh Gillum says lefties in Cleveland get a bump. So that's Jose Ramirez. Great park for Jose Ramirez.
He's right-handed today.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I forget that he's a pinch hitter. I think of him as just being a lefty.
Jazz Chisholm from the left side, though. Yeah, so this is kind of a weird one. Like, I guess if I'll go Miami 1, Cleveland 2, Plesac 3, Garrett 4.
Okay. And are they?
We might have some weather issues here too.
Oh yeah, we should double check the weather. That's always a good thing to stay informed about. That up.
Yeah, definitely keep an eye on this one. It looks like there's supposed to be storms.
Okay. Good to know. Also, potential weather here in Minnesota. Yeah, it's been like wintry mix. I hate it so much. We had just beautiful weather for a few days, 80-degree days, and now it's like cold and wet and not fun.
Yeah, so I guess I should feel bad for. I walked outside. I walked out on my balcony yesterday morning, and I was like, man, it's cold. And I looked, it was like 58 degrees. I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I knew I wasn't going to want to hear what you were going to say, and that was accurate. I did not want to hear that.
Yeah, I think it's like 70. I think it was like 70. Yeah, it's 72 right now.
Man, why do I live here, Adam? I moved away for a while. I told myself, I was like, I am never going to, I came back to Minnesota during the winter, I think during college, and I went to a movie, and I distinctly remember this, going to a movie with my dad and my brother. I don't know who else is there, but walking just from my car to the movie theater, I was like, I'm never moving back here. It was just so fucking cold. I was like, I never want to live here again.
Yeah.
And then, like,
to be fair, I absolutely hate Maryland weather also. We're just in like one of the only stretches of the year where it's actually nice.
Yeah. No, I love it here for like 7 or 8 months of the year, but
yeah, I hate it here for 52 weeks in a year. I hate it here for 48 of them.
Yeah. And other people in Minnesota are like, oh, I love winter and snow stuff. And I'm like, I hate it. I want it to never snow. I want it to never be snowy outside.
Nobody should like snow once you're out of school. Like, the good thing about snow is that it gets you out of school. Once you become an adult, if you have a driveway and stuff, it means you need the shovel. If you don't, it still means that everything is a pain in the ass. Like, I don't know how people like snow outside of it getting them out of school.
Yeah, agreed. I don't get it. I don't like it. I don't like driving in it. I don't like walking on icy
Right.
sidewalks. I don't like. There's no part of it that I enjoy. I just want spring. If it, like, I would love spring and fall all the time. I like summer
Yeah.
too, but like,
Hate summer here because it's so humid. Like
yeah,
in, I don't know, 2 weeks probably it'll start being like 90 degrees and you won't be able to breathe when you're outside. But yeah, the one stretch a year where it's, or you get fall and spring where it's 72 degrees for like a week is always great.
I love it. But the thing is, for me, like, so I love spring. Fall, it's like, well, winter is coming. Like, that's
Right.
all I'm thinking about during the fall. It's like I kind of enjoy it, but I'm also like, damn it, we're like soon it's gonna suck so much. So it's
Right.
hard to even enjoy it. And yeah, Larry C says he had to go to Minneapolis once for a business trip in November. It's the worst. It's a lovely city, to be clear, but the Skyway stuff was, yeah, we do have good infrastructure, so that is the one nice thing about here. Whereas like in Texas, if it snows, they have to shut everything down
Right.
for a week. Whereas here, it's like, yeah, you can stay inside most of the time, so that is a nice thing here. All right, well, we will move on to talk about Houston and Atlanta, but first, I'm going to need you guys' help. I mean, Sean V just said I don't know anything about baseball. Well, I need you guys to help me make my so rare MLB team. Can you see it on my screen right now? It's I in StreamYard, it's not showing up, so let me refresh it. For some
I do not
reason.
see it. No.
Okay, let me refresh my so rare. Hope
No.
I'm
Yeah.
refreshing. Okay, cool. All right. So, guys, I bought some cards. I don't know if I bought the best cards for this type of competition, but we're going to make a team using the cards that I have selected. I'm going to make a limited pro team, so there is no salary cap this week. I think that I have seen that there's going to be a salary cap at some point during the season, but so far we have no salary cap. So, just trying to play the best plays. I have bought some of these limited cards to enter in the contest. So, starting with starting pitcher, it's obviously between Jacob deGrom, Shane McClanahan. As you can see here, they are the probable pitchers in this game, and this is for the coming week. So I think it's it's Friday through Sunday. I believe it's the exact same schedule as NBA. I should double check that actually. Before I do this, let me double check the schedule here. Games, okay, 21st to the 23rd. So this is a really short period of game. So I guess it's good that they have that indicator of who is the projected pitcher here. But I'm obviously my inclination is to go to Jacob deGrom over Shane McClanahan here. Obviously, Spencer Strider is not starting in this one. If anybody objects to that, let me know. But I think Jacob deGrom seems like the easiest answer here, so I'm going to go with deGrom. Relief pitcher, again, Spencer Strider. Whenever he's going to be starting, I'm going to be playing him in this relief pitcher spot. Here I picked up Jordan Romano. I had to look up who the Blue Jays closer was to Sean's point about what I know about MLB. I was like, I kept on like, I looked up several teams closes and it was like, yeah, they have a closer by committee situation going on for like a lot of the best teams. Finally, I landed on Toronto, a team that has an actual closer who is good. So I'm going to play Jordan Romano here. This, I think, is my first really tough decision between Anthony Rizzo and Freddie Freeman, maybe even Max Muncy. I think I'm inclined to go with a Dodgers stack here. So I think I'm going to choose Freddie Freeman. And then continuing that Dodgers stack, Max Muncy. Outfield gets interesting. I have Betts and James Outman. Here, I'm going to start by, I'm going to throw Betts in there for sure in the stack. I think I want to go with Aaron Judge. So now this is an any hitter spot. I think I want to go with Aaron Judge here.
And so these are all cards that like you've purchased or won or whatever, right?
Yeah, so these ones are all cards that I have purchased. I haven't won anything yet for so I actually that's not true. I did win one card in the common contest that I played last week, but I have not. This is my first time actually playing in these limited contests, so I haven't won any yet. But yeah, I think I put like $600-700 into this. Yeah, I put a little money into this because I want to try to win these things, and I do think that I'm much better naturally at NBA for this type of thing because I know like the individual players a lot better. For MLB, for me, it's like, all right, what kind of stacks do I want to play? That kind of thing. So I'm like, I think that I should be stacking here. What do you think about that concept, Adam? So it's 3 games. So I think I'm still inclined to stack, but also like it's a little bit of a different dynamic than if you have just 1 game per team during a period.
Yeah, I think you'd still be inclined to stack.
Yeah, that is generally my inclination. Oh yeah, Larry C says, see now Muncy has been hot in the last week. And Bospro says Outman has been raking. So yeah, I do feel good about the way this is coming together. All right.
Yeah, Muncy's shoulder also definitely was affecting him last year. You
Yeah.
could see it. He was one where you could kind of see it coming. Like he started out really, really slowly. You knew he was hurt, and then suddenly towards like the end of last year, like everything just started trending up for him.
Nice. Yeah. So it's I'm glad to have Muncy in there in the stack. I think I'll just throw. Is it crazy for me to take James Outman over Aaron Judge to complete the stack? And I could potentially play both of them, but
so I mean, like I guess how many people are you competing against? Because like definitely like Aaron Judge is going to be more popular.
True. Yeah, it'll be like 5,000 people, I think. Yeah, so maybe that's good reason. Since I'm already stacking, maybe a good idea to go to James Outman here. I'm going to do it. I'm doing Outman. Yeah, Josh Gillum. What a name for MLB Outman. Not the best name for a
should have been a pitcher.
Should have been a pitcher, absolutely. And now here is an interesting incident. So this is your final spot is a flex spot. Any player can be a pitcher, can be a batter. My inclination was to go to Shane McClanahan until I learned, somebody in chat told me that it's different than the NBA in that for NBA on So Rare, you only get the player's best game. For MLB, apparently you get Jake Swell says DeGrom is hurt. Is that true?
I have no.
You trying to throw me off, Jake? I'll have to look that up and double check because if that would be an easy call.
Yeah. I forgot DeGrom left to start the other day.
Do we think that he's not gonna play?
I don't know. I don't know what the extent of the injury was.
All right. Well, then I'm gonna go ahead and play Shane McClanahan. So I'm gonna play Aaron Judge in this spot. I'm gonna play Shane McClanahan in my starting pitcher spot, and not have to worry about it.
Jacob DeGrom feels better. Expects to make next start.
Oh, all right. In that case, do I just stick with DeGrom, do you think, in the starting pitcher instead of Shane McClanahan? Or do you think they're close enough that I should not take the risk?
I'm typically a just go DeGrom every chance you can in any format.
Okay. I kind of am too. And if he says he thinks he's going to make his next start, then screw it. I'm gonna take the chance here on DeGrom. I think this is a nice lineup. I think solid closer, solid starter.
Yeah. So he left his last start after 4 innings with a sore right wrist. He said, "I actually feel better today." This is from like 3 days ago. He said, "I actually feel better today than I did yesterday." So that's a good sign. We did some stuff in the training room and everything feels good. So I fully anticipate making my next start. He is next scheduled to pitch Sunday.
Nice. Okay, good. So he should be on the schedule as long as nothing goes wrong. Yeah, I'm sticking with it. And I'm playing Judge. I think Judge over 3 games is going to put up more fantasy points than McClanahan. You only get 2 points for a strikeout in So Rare. So that's another reason that I think I'm a little bit more inclined to go to a batter. So I'm going to submit this lineup. I don't think I saw any objections to this lineup. Oh, yeah, DeGrom versus Oakland as well. Yeah, I'll take that. I'm going to take a shot there. All right, I'm going to submit this lineup. And these are, yeah, as Adam said, these are cards that I purchased on the secondary market on So Rare. And I think at some point we'll have projections for So Rare as well. They're really useful for NBA. Obviously helped me a lot to see because you can show basically the player's salary. Their last 10 average for most slates is going to work as their salary. And then we have our projection. And so it's the projection over salary. We give value scores and how many games the player has, et cetera, et cetera. So very, very useful for NBA. And hopefully I think that we're going to have it for MLB at some point as well. But I'm not going to enter all these other competitions just yet. I'll probably do that after the show if I have enough cards to play them. But yeah, that's really fun game. Honestly, I check this like multiple times a day during each slate. Like it's a very fun way to play fantasy sports in a different kind of way than I've ever played before. So highly recommend checking out So Rare MLB. I should I'll send the link to you guys. Put it in chat. There we go. There's a link to So Rare MLB if you're in chat currently. Highly recommend checking it out. I do love the format, even if I'm not necessarily good at the MLB format yet. All right, going to get back onto the games for today. And I believe we are at Houston and Atlanta. Yes. And we have Hunter Brown on the mound for the Astros, Bryce Elder for the Braves. Starting with the pitchers, Adam, what's your level of interest?
Not very high just because of the matchups. Hunter Brown certainly has good stuff, but he's priced up. He's 9,800 on DraftKings, facing a Braves team that I don't really want to go out of my way to take pitchers against. We have him with about an 8% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. No ownership coming in. So, like, obviously he's fine as a contrarian play, but there's plenty of guys that are low owned that also have higher chances of success than him. Similar for Bryce Elder, 8% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, no ownership, but, pretty tough matchup against Houston. Decent enough pitcher, but there's just so many other pitchers I actually like here.
Right. And tough spot for these pitchers, obviously. And then what about the bats in this one?
don't really like them either. You have two pretty good pitchers going. You can always make the case for Houston or Atlanta at low ownership. They have a lot of good hitters. Houston is 6th in top stack percentage, 5% chance of being the top scoring stack, only about 3% aggregate ownership. Atlanta further down against Brown, 3%, 3.5% chance of being the top stack, 1% ownership. So both of them, relatively low probability. Houston does look a little bit better, but just two talented lineups not getting ownership. If you want to get to them in tournaments, it's fine, but neither one is in a spot where I'm looking at it and saying like, oh yeah, I really like this, for this team because XYZ reason. You're just kind of looking at it and saying like, yeah, I like the Astros. I like the Braves when people don't play them.
Yep. Makes sense. And how would you rank the four sides of this one?
Hell if I know. Houston 1, Atlanta 2, Brown 3, Elder 4. But like all four sides of this game, I think are basically the same play where it's just like, yeah, they're good and they're low owned. And that's kind of all that there is.
Yeah, just take a shot on talent against talent, hope that your talent wins out kind of thing. Right. Yeah. All right. We can move on. Actually, I want to, Josh Gillum says it's like 10 different sites now. I got to expand more. Yeah, I've been feeling the same way. I talked about this on the Theory of DFS with Blender last week, how I'm like, I have access to all of these tools at Stochastic, and I still I should be jamming Prize Picks, Noah's Advantage, and obviously So Rare as well. I've been playing So Rare, but I'm like, man, I have access to all these tools for free, and I have not been playing. So I've started playing more and more because I'm like, I'm like costing myself money. I'm losing money by not taking advantage of these premium tools that I get for free. So I have,
like I can't play Prize Picks or No House Advantage in Maryland, but like I can play So Rare, I can play Underdog, and I don't, and I should. Like I replied to him in chat, like that's easily one of the biggest leaks in my game is just like not playing enough of the newer sites.
Yeah. And I mean, I gotta say, So Rare. So I've been playing just for 2.5 months now. I've been absolutely crushing it. Like it's like the competition is really weak for So Rare if you put just a little bit of money into it. Because I think a lot of the lineups in there are people that are just using the free cards. So you can get free common cards when you start, but you can win limited cards with those free cards, which, there's nothing wrong with that. Like people play that way. They win the limited cards. And once they have enough, they just start playing the competition, which is kind of my plan with the rare cards. But then that's who you're competing against. So if you just put a little bit of money into it, you have a huge advantage on the field. So I highly recommend checking out So Rare. And yeah, I'm now getting into all the other, pick 'em prop sites as well. All right.
Yeah, and that it also applies to sports betting for me. Like we have Odd Chopper, we have we have BetPro, we have all these tools that I can use, and I am just so lazy about it. I'm trying to start holding myself more accountable and like actually start betting more, but yeah, it's definitely one of my biggest weaknesses.
Yeah, and I can't sports bet here, so that's why I'm talking about. Like I'm playing Noah's Advantage, Prize Picks, Underdog, all these other adjacent sites because I'm not allowed to sports bet.
Otherwise, I think most states where you can play Prize Picks or NHA, you can't sports bet and vice versa.
Yeah, I think that's true. All right, we will move on. Oakland at Texas. We have JP Sears on the mound for the A's, John Gray for the Rangers. What's your level of interest in the pitchers?
John Gray looks pretty good here. Oakland obviously sucks. John Gray is pretty good. $9,100 price tag. 5th highest top 2 pitcher percentage at 12%. He is projected to go a little bit or quite a bit over owned, 27% ownership. But again, not something I care about that much with pitchers. It's one spot in your lineup. They are more projectable. There's obviously still a lot of variance. It's still baseball, but they're much more projectable than offenses are. So typically I don't care quite as much about pitcher ownership. I'm a lot more willing to eat chalk there. And you have a good matchup. 3.3 implied run total for Oakland. John Gray, since the start of last season, has struck out 29.7% of the right-handed hitters he's faced, only 21.1% of the left-handed hitters. Oakland's lineup does project to be slightly left-handed heavy, 5 lefties, 4 righties. So nothing too crazy there that you have to worry about. And then, of course, just a lot of below average hitters there anyway. So Gray looks really good. Not particularly interested in getting the Sears. Again, just not a slate where I think I really need to get there. The Rangers offense is not bad either. 4.7 implied run total. So not much interest in Sears, but certainly a lot of interest in John Gray.
Okay. And then how about the bats?
No interest in Oakland, but the Texas side, Sears has had issues with right-handed power in particular. 223 expected ISO, 208 actual ISO since the start of last year. Looking to Marcus Semien, Adolis Garcia, Josh Young as the 3-man. Those guys stand out. And then obviously, if you want a full stack and mix in 2 other guys, that's fine. But Semien, Garcia, Young all look like very good plays here.
Okay, and then how would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Gray 1, Rangers 2. Uh, I don't like Oakland 3, Sears 4. I don't know.
You're just not going there, so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Okay. Nationals at Twins. We have Trevor Williams on the mound for the Nationals, Tyler Mahle for the Twins. What's your level of interest in the pitchers?
Very interested in Tyler Mahle. Good matchup for him. Only $8,700 is a pretty reasonable price tag as well. We have him fourth highest in top pitcher percentage. Again, going a bit over owned, 22% ownership, 13.5% top two pitcher. But again, not overly worried about that. The Nats suck. Mahle looks pretty good. He's been a solid strikeout pitcher going back to his time with the Reds. 24.4% strikeout percentage against righties since last year, 26.4 against lefties. Just looks like a good arm. Trevor Williams against Minnesota, just not a spot that I think you need to get to today.
Okay. And then how about the bets?
Minnesota looks solid. Trevor Williams has been flat out good against right-handed bats since the start of last year. 30.5% strikeout percentage, 138 expected ISO, 263 expected WOBA. That's not to say that you can't play Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton. These guys are obviously very, very good hitters, and you can play them regardless. But really, really drastic splits for Williams. I just read off very, very good numbers against righties. 8.7% strikeout percentage against lefties. Like, you almost have to try to have a strikeout percentage that low. 217 expected ISO, 364 expected WOBA. Max Kepler is going to look good, at the top of the order. Julian's going to look good as a value second baseman. His price just keeps not moving, even though he has looked very good since coming up. Joey Gallo looks phenomenal. Like, you have Joey Gallo facing a pitcher that doesn't get strikeouts. Joey Gallo is either hitting it a mile or he's striking out, and this dude doesn't get strikeouts. So I love targeting spots like that.
Yeah. Boss Bro brings up a good point. It's cold as hell in Minnesota in the 30s. That is true. And there's also risk of, you're going to have to pay attention to the weather for this one, because I think there is some risk of a postponement here, just because we have like a wintry mix coming today. And you probably don't want to play baseball in a wintry mix. So definitely
seems like the kind of game where at least we shouldn't, like, we should find out early, I think. Like, they're either going to say, like, we don't want to play in this shit, or they're going to say, like, we'll suck it up. It's not like they're going to get caught by surprise, or they're waiting to see if it actually is cold or something.
Right. Yep. So pay attention to the weather for sure in this one, because the Twins bat's going to look interesting if the game does play. And Tyler Mahle obviously as well. So can you rank the Forza?
I hope they play.
Have you ever played in a snow game?
No, but I went to one. I went to Orioles opening day when I was in like 7th grade, and it snowed. Like, you couldn't see the ball. They ended up going into a snow delay. But the play before they went into a snow delay, they were playing Cleveland. Guy hits a fly ball to right field. Jay Gibbons is the right fielder for Baltimore. Gibbons didn't even see the ball, and then it just hit the wall behind him, and he saw it bouncing back past his feet and runs to pick it up. It was insane.
That is that's interesting. I'm generally of the opinion, and this is another hot take that people are going to disagree with. I bet. I think that all NFL games, maybe not MLB games, I think all NFL games should be played in a dome. I just or at least cold weather cities like Minnesota, like Green Bay is the example of one that does not play in a dome. Just play in a dome. I get it. The elements theoretically should help you because your players can practice in the elements more, et cetera, et cetera. But it's such a better experience for the fans to not have to be freezing your ass off, because they're just sitting there the whole game. There's no way to make yourself not miserable if you don't like the cold.
That is what alcohol is for, sir.
That is true. I mean, I've tried that approach and it helps some, but it's still So you're not with me on this. You think?
No. I mean, so I kind of am. From a going to the game fan standpoint, absolutely. From a watching on TV, I could see it either way. You're getting a better product if every team plays in the dome, because you're just getting peak optimal offense, but you're also losing out on just the crazy shit that happens in the snow. I have the same take with baseball though. I think every stadium should just have a retractable roof.
Absolutely. 100%.
It's absurd that you get baseball games rained out in the year 2023.
Yeah, because baseball, part of the reason you like going to baseball games is for the weather, to be outside in the sun. So you can't just have you can't have domes everywhere in baseball, but retractable roofs just make so much sense. Yeah. Sportsbook says you need more body hair, Neil. Problem solved. That's fair. Stop manscaping so much. Yeah, that was apparently the sponsor again this morning for Josh and Laffy. They love talking about that, Manscaped. And then people, I mean, She School said, just drink beer, warm you right up. Adam said this. You guys not paying attention to, do you not watch the NBA show? I'm drinking beer, guys. I'm not going to games and not drinking beer. Don't worry. I'm trying to warm myself up there, but somebody heard Demetrius Mack. What did he at me? I see the at player Q DFS. I do not see a question from Demetrius. So sorry, I don't know what you're asking me. If you do have a question, though, feel free to ask again. Good to see you here. All right, we can move on to. Wait, did you rank the 4 sides, right? Maybe you didn't. I don't think you did, actually.
No, I didn't. But Molly, Minnesota, Nats, Williams.
She's that wants to know, where did Adam get his name? Ship my money.
Just tried to think of a name that would annoy people when I finished higher than them.
Do you think your name is more annoying than LMAO your face?
That's a good one. I do enjoy that one.
Yeah, that's a great username. I should have thought about my name more instead of just using my name from AOL Instant Messenger in college or whatever. Whatever. What are you gonna do? All right. Boston at Milwaukee. We have Nick Pivetta on the mound for the Sox, Freddie Peralta for the Brewers. What's your level of interest in the pitchers?
Definitely interested in Peralta. Good strikeout pitcher. Not the best matchup against Boston, but 3.7 implied run total. Peralta third with a 14% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. Only pulling 5% ownership makes him really interesting in tournaments if that number doesn't come up. And I do sort of understand why he's getting squeezed out here. You have Shohei Ohtani, who's $600 more. We haven't talked about him yet, but clearly you're going to prefer, most people are going to prefer Ohtani over Peralta. But then you also have Nola for $800 less in a good matchup. So people are going to go there first. Assuming for now that the Minnesota game plays, you have Tyler Mahle for $1,500 less. Gray is $1,100 less. So it just becomes really, really difficult if you're just running projections, basically, to start getting the Freddie Peralta. But still a very high ceiling for this guy and at very little ownership. So certainly like it in tournaments.
Okay. And then what about the bats?
Interested in the Milwaukee side. Nick Pivetta is not a bad pitcher, but does have some power issues. 201 expected ISO to righties since last year, 177 to lefties. You certainly have some power in this lineup for the Brewers as well, and not very expensive. Jesse Winker coming in at 3,100, Rowdy Tellez at 4K, William Contreras at 4K. As a cheap catcher, relatively cheap catcher option hitting in the middle of the order. Obviously, you can always get to Yelich, Adames. You have Bryce Turang at basically minimum salary. He's a highly regarded, hitting prospect. So I do think Milwaukee looks good, both in terms of value and in terms of chances of success. We have them with a 5% chance of being the top stack, about 10% aggregate ownership. So, they are projected to go a little bit over owned there, but you have to keep in mind that they also have about an 8% chance of being the top value. Of the teams ahead of them in top stack percentage, San Diego's at 6%. Every other team's below 4%. So you do have, that value component means that they should be a bit higher owned than that 5%. If you look at stack score, which is the metric that we use to sort of factor in value along with top stack percentage, Milwaukee's coming in third. So I do think they look pretty good. Detroit's coming in second, which get out of here with that one. But Milwaukee makes sense to me for sure.
But you got to factor in that Spencer Torkelson is hot. That's why Detroit looks so good. Yeah. All right, how would you rank the 4 sides of the Boston-Milwaukee game?
Either Peralta or the Brewers 1, whichever one isn't 1 is 2. Pivetta 3, Boston 4.
Okay. By the way, guys, have you hit the like button yet? If you have not yet hit the like button, please do so. I don't even know if I asked at the beginning of the show. So reminder, please do hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. Also, if you are a new user to Stokastic, highly recommend signing up using the promo code SCORE to get 50% off any sport, platinum, weekly, or monthly package. Any package that we have to offer here at Stokastic, you can get 50% off. So if you want to just take a 1-week trial, you can do that. If you want to do a 1-month trial, obviously better value to get 50% off a full month as opposed to a week. But you can also just do one sport. If you're just playing MLB, just do MLB. If you're playing every sport, you can do packages that include MLB, NBA, everything that we have to offer. So use promo code SCORE when you sign up. You'll get our ownership projections, lineup generator, lineup builder, boom bust tool, top pitches tool, all the tools that we talk about throughout the show. You can get these for 50% off using promo code SCORE. So make sure you use that if you are a new user when you sign up. Kansas City at the Angels. We've got Taylor Clark on the mound for Kansas City, Shohei Ohtani for the Angels. What's your level of interest in the pitchers?
Extremely interested in Shohei Ohtani. I think that goes without saying. Very, 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 very good pitcher. Solid enough spot against KC. He's first in top 2 pitcher percentage at 25%, 37% ownership is second highest on the slate behind Nola. Absolutely love getting to him. As far as Taylor Clark goes, it looks like he's likely to be an opener, be followed by Yarbrough. Regardless, I have no interest in the pitching there.
Okay. So Shohei Ohtani, would you say he is your number one pitcher today, or is Aaron Nola at 9,400 your favorite?
I think it's really close because like Nola does give you better value, but pricing also just hasn't really been that tight. So I don't think it's going to be that hard to get to Ohtani. I would assume, again, I haven't built cash lineups, obviously. I would assume in cash, there's a good chance you're going Ohtani Nola. Um, I probably would get more Nola in tournaments, but again, it really is going to just come down to like what stacks you get to and what, how easy it is to get to Ohtani. The price tag on Nola certainly stands out as being more favorable, but I'm just not really sure that it ends up mattering.
Yep, that's fair. Yeah, we have Ohtani with a 25% chance of being one of the top two pitchers on the slate, Nola with a 19% chance, but then Nola obviously a better chance of being a top two value pitcher. So I think those are like the pretty clear top two in my mind. But yeah.
33.2% strikeout percentage for Ohtani since the start of last year.
That is so nuts.
Yep.
And you know that he bats too?
Yeah, I've heard.
All right. How about
Did you see that the report came out the other day that if the Angels are not in playoff contention, Ohtani will definitely leave?
I did not see that.
Yeah, so there's speculation that Ohtani's getting shipped out at the deadline if the Angels are not.
It is crazy how bad they've been with Ohtani and Trout on the team.
It sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. All right. Did we talk about the bats at all? I assume you're not playing Kansas City here. I guess you can tell me what's your level of interest in the bats?
Not interested in Kansas City. I do like the Angels here. Taylor Clark, not particularly good. Ryan Yarbrough, also decent, but not particularly good. And not pitching in Tropicana Field anymore. The Angels Park is one of those parks that you've referred to that used to be a pitcher's park and now is pretty strongly a hitter's park. Fourth in home run park factor. Fourth in overall park factor. I think it was they moved the wall in a few years ago. But regardless, it now plays as a hitter's park pretty strongly. So Angels certainly look good here. In terms of top stack percentage, we have them second to Philadelphia, 8% chance of being the top stack, 5% projected ownership. So they are projected to go a little bit under-owned relative to top stack percentage because they are somewhat expensive. The only thing that sucks about stacking the Angels is Ohtani's pitching. So you're losing you're losing obviously one of the most impactful bats in that lineup. You just can't use them. So it makes it's one less guy that you can include in stacks. So it lowers the different iterations you can make of Angel stacks, but also it just, you're losing. You can't play one of the most productive hitters in the lineup. So it does just weaken the stack a little bit there. So it's a situation where if Ohtani weren't pitching, I would like Angel stacks more, but I do still certainly like them. Taylor Ward, Mike Trout in particular. I like getting the Renfroe, Rendon, Urshela, Drury. I think these guys are fine. You have a cheap shortstop in Zach Neto, who they called up recently. Still a very good stack to get to. Just, wish we could get Ohtani also.
Yeah, for sure. And then how would you rank the four sides of this game?
Ohtani 1, Angels bats 2, I guess Kansas City bats 3, just because I technically have more interest in them than I do the KC pitching.
Josh Gillum says Ohtani going to the Yanks. Larry C says Ohtani is going to the Dodgers.
Ohtani's going to the Orioles. We're going to give up everybody in our minor league system.
What would you say? I mean, getting serious, what would you say the percent chance is that Ohtani goes to one of the Yankees or the Dodgers?
I don't know what their farm systems look like. That's always the tough thing. As a free agent, sure, they're going to be the favorites because they'll give him the money. But
I was thinking he was a free agent, so okay.
Yeah. So I think the rumor I think is basically that Ohtani will walk as a free agent if the Angels aren't good, but the Angels will trade him before that happens.
Okay.
So all right. As a free agent, I think those are the favorites. But from a trade standpoint, it obviously all comes down to minor league systems. I don't know exactly what either team has. I did enjoy when that report came out. The first reply I saw on Twitter was a Yankees fan saying that the Yankees should go after him hard, and that none of the prospects are untouchable except for Volpe and Dominguez. And it's no, if you're going for Shohei Ohtani,
right,
you're giving
nobody's untouchable.
Yeah, they are being traded.
Yeah, that's funny. Did you already rank the four sides?
Yes.
Okay.
But Ohtani, Angels bats, KC bats, Royals pitching.
Okay. All right, moving on. Padres at Diamondbacks. We have Seth Lugo on the mound for the Padres, Zach Gallen for the D-backs. Starting with the pitchers, what is your level of interest?
Gallen's another good tournament pitcher, kind of similar to Freddie Peralta, where he's just not pulling ownership because he's at an awkward price point. He's $200 more expensive than Aaron Nola. If you're just running projections, like you're just going to get a lot more Aaron Nola. We have Nola projected about a little shy of 4 points higher than Zach Gallen. So, like, clearly you're just going to be getting to Aaron Nola more. And so is the field. But there's just no chance in hell that Aaron Nola is a 39-1 favorite against Zach Gallen. So it is a spot where pivoting to some Gallen makes sense if you need to lower ownership in your lineup, but Nola does, look like the better play. Gallen's a good pitcher, though. There's no doubt about that. 27.2% strikeout percentage since last year is only 1 point behind Nola. 3.29 xFIP, 3.31 Sierra. Slightly worse than Nola across the board, but pretty comparable in like every category. So in tournaments does make some sense in the same way Freddie Peralta does, but relatively difficult to get to, and also clearly has a tough matchup against the Padres. On the other side, not particularly interested in getting to Lugo at 8,500. Just not a slate where I think you really need to get there. He's very similar to guys like Bryce Elder, Hunter Brown, where he's got about an 8% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. He's not getting any ownership, but I think that I get, like, if I'm looking to get low owned pitching, I think I'm going to like Gallen or Peralta most likely before I get to somebody like Lugo or Elder.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. And then what about the bats in this game?
Really surprised by the run total here because these are 2 good pitchers. But from an offensive standpoint, we do have San Diego 3rd in top stack percentage against Gallen. Again, that one, I don't totally get it, but I don't remember what spot it was the other day where it was very similar. It was just like my first thought was that the line didn't make any sense, but also the line is certainly going to be sharper than my first thought looking at something.
Right.
So the Padres do grade out well. We have them 3rd in top stack percentage, getting about 8.5%, 9% ownership. Fernando Tatis is up to 5,100 on DraftKings. Certainly still playable, just not, minimum salary. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if you get to the Padres, great. He did also pick up outfield eligibility on DraftKings, so you can now play him and Bogarts together. So it makes it a lot easier to stack the Padres if you're looking to go that route. For Arizona, top of the order is going to look relatively good. Rojas, Marte, Carroll. But I don't love either stack. The Padres, do look like the better one, though.
Maybe Tatis just plays to his DraftKings salary.
Right.
I got a DM from Demetrius Mack. He had at me before. Any home run picks for LAD for the Dodgers Cubs game? I mean, if I can pick anybody, it's going to be Freddie Freeman for me. Do you have any other home run picks for the Cubs game? It's in Wrigley.
Drew Smyly
wind blowing
versus
out.
Urias. Yeah, wind blowing out. So a lot of people probably. Let me see. Smyly. He hasn't been giving up as much power as I thought he did. I'll go. I mean, Mookie, obviously. I would go Mookie or JD.
Okay. All right. So we gave you a bunch of different, and Sean V says Muncy would be his. A lot of different ways you can go with the Dodgers in Wrigley
All
Field.
right. So anybody with Muncy?
Anybody with Muncy, clearly. And yeah, Josh Gillum says, if my Braves get Ohtani, good night. Yeah, correct. That would be a bummer. Yes. Can the Twins get Ohtani, please? Agreed. Astic. That is what needs to happen here. All right. Can you rank the 4 sides of this game? San Diego, Arizona.
I guess I have to say Padres bats first because they grade out well. Even though it's not how I guess I see it.
You don't need to. You can do whatever you want.
Well, no, I mean, like again, like I think the numbers are right.
I know.
So it's Padres first, Gallen second, Diamondbacks 3, Lugo 4.
Okay. St. Louis at Seattle. We have Steven Matz on the mound for the Cardinals, George Kirby for the Mariners. Starting with the pitchers, once again, Adam, what's your level of interest?
Decent tournament options, nothing that I would prioritize. George Kirby's just a solid pitcher, but he does have a tough matchup here. $8,900, 8.5% chance of being a top 2 pitcher on DraftKings, 5.5% ownership. Another, he's like a little bit cheaper version of Zach Gallen, where tough matchup, good pitcher. You're not going to get a lot of him, but if you need to save ownership on a pitcher, that's fine. Steven Matt's probably a little bit too cheap at 7,300. Favorable park to pitch in, pulling 15% ownership, 9% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. He's just, a solid arm, 26% strikeout percentage since last year, 3.23 xFIP. Has had issues with power, but this park will help to mitigate that. Seattle is 11th from the bottom in home run park factor. So below average spot for hitting home runs, should help out Matz. Not a safe lineup by any stretch. You have, Rodriguez, you have France, power from the right side there. So I don't think he's safe, but I think Matz is a little bit underpriced.
Okay. Josh Gillum says Ohtani should get paid $50+ million a year, best player in baseball, in my opinion. Do you agree that that Ohtani should be the highest paid player in baseball?
Yes. I get. Yeah. So I kind of go back and forth. Like last year, for most of the year, I thought Ohtani should be MVP, and then I got convinced it should be Judge. Towards the end, like I think Judge or Ohtani should be the highest paid. I would lean Ohtani.
Yeah, definitely a fair case to be made for both. I think I would lean Ohtani too. But yeah, it's just so hard to replicate somebody who's an ace and also a stud batter. All right.
I also don't know how old Ohtani is.
I don't either. That's a good point.
I'm pretty sure he's like 26 or 27, 28.
Yeah. Well, how old is Aaron Judge?
I think 30.
At 30, yeah. He is 30. So Ohtani a little bit younger too. Yeah. So for me, I would be if I'm
Judge
paying
will be
somebody
31 next week.
Okay. Yeah. If the Twins want to throw all of their money at somebody, I would choose Ohtani for the Twins. Maybe it's different for teams that already have a lot of really good pitching staff. Twins, I guess, actually not bad this year. But all right. The bats in this game, St. Louis, Seattle. What's your level of interest?
Not super interested in either side. I said I like Matz more than Kirby because of his price, but I do think I also like the Mariners bats a little bit more just because Matz does have those power issues, and you do get Julio Rodriguez, Ty France, Suarez, Hernandez, a lot of right-handed power here at the top. But overall, just not a very appealing spot for hitters, I don't think. Seattle has a 3% chance of being the top stack. St. Louis is right behind, right next to them at also 3%. Neither team is getting much ownership. Seattle is getting more, again, because of Rodriguez, France at the top, but not really excited about the bats and not really excited about the pitching either.
How do you rank them?
Factoring in DraftKings salary, Matt's 1. Matt's 1, Mariners bats 2, Kirby 3, Cardinals bats 4, I think.
Okay. But you're not particularly interested in any.
Yeah, I think they're all really close. Matt's is cheap and has talent, but he's in a tough matchup. Kirby is relatively expensive, has talent in a tough matchup. Mariners have a lot of power in a bad park for hitting against a pretty good pitcher. Cardinals have a lot of power in a bad park for hitting against a good pitcher. It's kind of like the Houston-Atlanta game.
Yeah, just hard to really want to get there too much. All right, final game of the slate. We have the New York Mets at the San Francisco Giants. I don't see who the pitcher is for the Mets in here. Maybe I don't know if
Joey Lucchesi.
Okay. We'll go with Joey Lucchesi and then Anthony DeSclafani on the mound for the Giants. Starting with the pitchers, what is your level of interest?
Good pitchers park, but not guys I really want to get to on this slate. Tough matchup for DeSclafani against the Mets. He's pulling no ownership, 6.5% chance of being a top 2 pitcher at 8,100. So, he's another guy that you kind of just throw in there with like Bryce Elder, where if you're playing 150 lineups and you get a little bit of him to be different, sure, but there's nothing that you can really point to and say like DeSclafani's a great play or anything like that. We have Joey Lucchesi at 5,400, pulling 8% ownership, 4% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. I totally forgot this guy was even in baseball anymore. I had no idea he was on the Mets. So trying to pull up to see sort of what he's done recently. He hadn't pitched in the majors since 2021. Made 8 starts in 2021. Last year, he had 4 games at single A, 2 at double A, 2 at triple A. So far this year, 15 innings at triple A. He's a decent pitcher. Steamer projects him for a 4.04 FIP. The bat is at 3.79, 22 or 23.7% projected strikeout percentage from the bat. If you need to pay down for pitcher, Lucchesi is okay, but I don't think you're going to need to do it all that often here.
Okay. How about the bats?
Not really interested in bats. Park isn't good for hitting. DeSclafani's solid. Lucchesi's solid. DeSclafani does have pretty drastic splits in terms of power allowed. 219 expected ISO to lefties, only 119 to righties. So if you wanted to look to like Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Jeff McNeil, those guys all make some sense. You have Vogelbach and Beatty towards the bottom of the order as well. But the park just kills power so much that I don't really want to get there.
Okay. And then how would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Forget it exists.
Got a lot of those today.
Yeah. Desclafani 1, Mets 2. Actually, I guess Lucchesi 1 just because he's so cheap. Desclafani 2, Mets 3, Giants 4. But again, just I don't really like any of it.
Well, we don't need to get into who is. I'm curious. Jake Swell says Ohtani isn't the best player in baseball. Obviously, we're already over time, so we're not going to get deep into it. But I'm curious who you think is the best player in baseball. I'm not sure
I mean,
how
if the
many.
answer isn't Judge, then like the answer has to be Judge at this point. Like you could argue Tatis maybe, but like
Yeah,
I think you kind of have to wait on that one.
yeah. Oh, so he thinks it's Judge. Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's
there's a fair argument for that. Yeah,
perfectly reasonable. I mean, the reasoning there is completely 100% wrong, but it has nothing to do with Ohtani not making the playoffs. Like,
oh,
knocking an individual player for not making the playoffs in baseball is absolutely insane. But I think Judge is a perfectly reasonable answer, just completely wrong reasoning.
Yeah. All right. 3-man. You're entering 3 lineups in a 3-entry contest. Who are your 3 stacks?
Let's go with Philly, Angels, Baltimore.
3 favorite pitchers.
Nola, Ohtani, Gray.
Home run pick.
Yeah, I need to find one of those. Joey Gallo, if that game plays. If not, I will go.
That's 2 days in a row, right? Joey Gallo.
Yeah, I think so.
I have
I'll
not
go
been paying
Marcus Semien
attention.
if not.
I've not been paying attention to how our home run picks are doing. So I assume I'm hitting every day. I'm getting it right.
Yeah, of course.
All right, let's see here. I'm tempted to take Ohtani, but I won't because you can't play him as a hitter. Man, this is it's a tough game for me. I'll go with. Can I go with Soto?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go with Juan Soto, my home run pick.
Yeah, I mean,
all right.
the dude's hitting like 150 since the start of the
Is
year.
he really? I did not realize he was hitting that poorly.
He's one of those like he struggled with San Diego after the trade too, and he's been garbage so far this year. Like I'm not overly concerned about it, but
pretty
he's been
small
garbage.
sample still. But,
yeah.
Sir Manning, please do hit the like button if you have not yet hit it. Adam, do you have any final words?
So I just pulled up Soto. He's hitting 183 this year, still a 111 WRC plus. Like he's been an above average hitter, just not Juan Soto level of production that you expect.
Yep. All right. Is that your final words?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. So I'll have a bunch of content coming out. MLB article will be out soon. NBA article will be out less soon. Bet Pro video will be out at some point this afternoon also.
All right, so keep your eye on Adam's Twitter, on our channels, on our page. I guess Stokastic.com will have the written stuff as well. So yeah, keep your eye out. Adam's going to have plenty of content coming out. I'm going to be back in 15 minutes to talk some underdog with Eric. Larry C. I should have said Spencer Torkelson. That would have been funny. That would have bring it full circle, taking Torkelson as my homer pick. All right, that will do it for the show. Again, guys, please do like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. Come back in 15 minutes. Catch me and Eric to talk a little underdog today. Catch you guys later.